Hey, my name is Ash T, and on this episode of The Dropouts, I have a very good friend of mine who went from a corporate job in the champagne business to stand-up comedian and actress. So Sarah Halstead and I, thank you, by the way, for coming on the show.
Thanks
and I
for
think I
having
just
me.
mispronounced your name again, right? It's Halstead?
Halstead.
Okay,
Yes,
got it.
but we're very good friends.
We're very good friends now. Yeah.
I don't even know
It's
your
okay.
last name. I've been calling you T, Ash T. So hey, it's all good.
Yeah, it's like Maggie
We're
Q.
still great friends.
Yeah.
Just don't know each other's last names.
Yeah. I know your name now. I don't have to call you Sarah H. But I met Sarah actually on an industrial in LA like 4 or 5 years ago with Jolly Road Productions under David
Yeah.
Kalisher, and we were doing films for corporate work,
We
right?
book that pretty easily
because we're corporate
of our
people.
past.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we worked on another commercial, and then, you know, Sarah's a very well-respected comedian in Los Angeles, and she kind of took me under her wing and let me be on one of her shows. And so here we are today. I've been on her podcast,
Yes.
Drinking During Business Hours, not to be confused with After Business Hours.
Yeah,
right? All right.
definitely during.
During,
It's just
all
more
right.
fun that way.
Yeah, totally. So here you are, and let's start from the beginning, though, because I don't know much about you other than you started out in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, I interviewed you last time, so I know all about you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I born and raised in Flint, Michigan, a very glamorous part of the country. We're known for the film Roger and Me,
That's right.
which is the GM General Motors shakedown. My dad worked for GM, and so we were very affected by that. That's a big chunk of my childhood. And then, because Flint was so deserving of Governor Rick Schneider switching water sources and poisoned the entire town,
Exactly.
practically. That's the short version. And
You
so
survived.
so poor Flint, they just can't seem to get a break. But that was my childhood, and it was a wonderful childhood. And I love Flint, and the people of Flint are great.
What did your parents do?
Well, my dad worked for GM, and my mom was a housewife. My brother and I have an older brother, and we had this, beautiful little greenhouse on a dirt road with perfect flowers and chocolate chip cookies when I got home and from school, and the school bus, the yellow school, but not the short school bus, but the regular school bus would come and get me. And it was like a very humble yet wonderful fairy tale kind of childhood. And then my mom started working in real estate, and then everything changed.
When
No
was
more
that?
chocolate cookies. No, she was still, my mom was great.
How
and
old
then
were you when that happened?
let's see, I'm probably like 12.
Okay.
And so I really was very fortunate to have, my mom was able to stay home with us all that time. And
Okay, so they had corporate
it was
work.
nice. They did, yeah.
And what would you dream of as a child? Like when you were 6 or 7, what did you want to be?
Well, I was already just the little jokester of the family.
Okay.
I was really, really funny.
So you
I
wanted to be a
wish I was
comedian.
as funny today as I was when I was that age, just
Yeah.
innately just always center of attention, getting in trouble at school because I was just making jokes. And I also would laugh at really inappropriate times, like if someone would get hurt, I just thought it was so funny. Everything was a joke. And I just had learned that, life was better with humor. And I was obsessed with SNL. I was obsessed with Gilda Radner.
And at that point, did you want to be an actress or a comedian?
Oh, I think by the time I was 3 years old, I told people I wanted to be a comedian when I
Okay.
understood what that title was.
Okay, wow, that's really early.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Very early on.
So what happened with reality kicked in and you said, I can't do this? Or did your parents have an influence on it? Were they supportive of you being a comedian?
It kind of went to the wayside, and I was just always kind of the funny girl in school. And when I graduated, and I was a terrible student. I was really I had a very difficult time concentrating. And, now I'm sure, like,
Have you been diagnosed with ADHD?
I haven't been officially diagnosed, but it's difficult to pay attention when you're not interested.
Yeah.
And the arts just really weren't as available. And but my dad was really adamant on giving us piano lessons, and he was strict about our musical education. So Adam, my brother, he played the cello and I played the piano, and I was in ballet, and I had learned that feeling of performing and what an amazing escape that was. And I had grown to really I loved performing. I loved being in front of an audience and the recitals. And so I really excelled in music and I excelled in the arts, but everything else, I just could care less.
Of all the things that you can and can't do, your parents said, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you pursue music.
Well, it was my dad's dream, and my mom just kind of went along with it. Now she's this big shot real estate lady in town, and she was the top realtor and doing really, really well. And my dad at the time was still working for GM, third shift, and he found this music teacher, this really strict old lady in Flint, German, and he would edge her sidewalk and do her lawn in trade for free piano lessons.
Oh, wow.
And so he was really working hard to ensure that my brother and I had access to music, because in Flint, it was difficult to have those kind of resources. But he did a lot of research and found this lady, and she was strict. It was every Tuesday at 4:30, and she would slap my hands with a ruler every time I played an incorrect note, and she would grade me. And if I had a bad lesson, she'd get out, these different color markers, and you get an F. And then she would, with like orange and red and she, all these like as many red and orange and bad colors that symbolized failure, and an explanation point. I mean, she was really.
And that's when you realized you didn't want to do piano anymore.
Well, she was just the best thing now, looking back, because she taught me discipline and how you just can't quit. And it really was the best thing ever, and I'm so appreciative now. And she said, "You're going to appreciate this later." And she was right.
She was right.
I do really appreciate it. And so it's nice that I had that skill.
So you're a concert pianist. You're a concert pianist by the age of 18. You can play everything, Chopin, mazurkas, whatever.
Pretty much. If my hands, I can only play an octave. So if my hands could play it, if they were large enough to play it, I did.
And did you go to music school for college?
No. I actually left the piano, and I...
when did you leave it?
I left it around the age of 19.
Okay.
And I moved to New York City to become an actress.
Oh, okay.
And my parents were just devastated.
Yeah.
And it was not the part of the plan.
Where did that come out of?
I wanted to maybe, pursue... I just was really very influenced by funny women. And they were actresses, or they were, the funny actress.
Who was your favorite? Who was the one that probably influenced you the most?
Let's see. Well, at that time, Ellen DeGeneres was really making a big splash. And what really inspired me about Ellen is she was just, she was so pretty. And I didn't know, that pretty women could also be funny. There were very few, like Lucille Ball, and there were just very few women,
right.
They didn't really think women could be funny, and we're still challenged with that, Yeah. So but Ellen was just really making her way through the comedy circuit. I was also very influenced with Joan Rivers, and I just had this feeling that that's what my calling was.
Did it feel like you hurt your dad's feelings? Did you feel like, I don't know if I'm ready to break this relationship with my parents? I'm expected to be a pianist now, and now I'm just transitioning to an actress.
My dad was devastated. He did not even say goodbye to me in person.
Wow.
He was crying on the phone, and in between words, he just said, "Treat others the way you want to be treated." And so that's what I've always done since. That's the advice he gave. And I've stuck to that model. Yeah, that philosophy.
Wow, that's pretty traumatic.
It was traumatic. It was traumatic, and it wasn't easy. I got really lucky. I went to acting class, and there a teacher, a very renowned teacher named Sam Schacht, saw potential and took a liking to me, and he also taught at Tisch NYU, and he brought me in, and I was able to study at Tisch in the drama department for 4 years, non-matriculated.
Wow.
And living in New York City is an education in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, so it was, I had to grow up really quickly. I wasn't a big fish in this small pond any longer. I was no longer the prettiest girl in town. I was no, now it was like chump change. I mean, it's like these women were these girls were so, I was doing a little bit of modeling. These girls
how
were
did you survive?
Oh, they were so beautiful. They didn't even look human. And I was so I would be like the little print girl, because I was short. 5'7" is, you had to be 5'9" to be, doing editorial or runway. So I did modeling, I did commercials, and I did off Broadway.
And that paid the bills for
and
you.
No, I was a waitress.
Okay, you were
at a
waitress.
little at French bistros.
Yeah.
And while, like, in between, I did a ton, like a plethora of theater. And in between theater, I would, work at these little French bistros, and I became really interested in wine. And the wine
by drinking a lot.
Well, I did. I definitely got my drinky on.
Yeah.
I did discover beer from the Midwest. Couldn't help that. But then I transitioned into wine, and I started to really realize that it was a true place. And the story behind wine was quite poetic. And I had befriended the wine rep that would come into the restaurant where I worked, and he had a suit and and wine and an expense account, and all I saw was he was eating and drinking and having a good time. I had no idea behind the scenes of the wine business, but I thought, I might be interested in being in the wine industry while I pursue the arts.
Gotcha.
And so then in 1999, my mother passed away of ovarian cancer, and I wanted to take a break from drama. So I was doing quite well, but I didn't realize it at the time that I was doing well. I was comparing myself to other people whom I graduated that were in the movies.
Oh, quite well. In what area? What were you doing
I was doing well in commercials and theater, and
oh, you hadn't gotten in the wine business yet?
No. But in the late 90s, early 2000s, television actors were not considered, that wasn't considered as successful as being in film, like being, and now it's the opposite,
Yeah,
right? It's kind of crazy. So, so I took a break from drama, and I got into the wine industry. And I did really well, and it was really easy.
So that was because your mom had passed away.
My
and you
mom
said,
passed away.
I'm kind of done with acting for now.
At the time, I just thought I was taking a break from. I really only meant to leave it for a sliver of a moment, and it just, before I knew it, 12 years go by.
Wow. And why do you think you stayed in it so long?
I stayed in it because it felt really good to have a consistent paycheck. It felt really good to be good and at something and know that I had become a commodity, that I actually excelled and was growing and climbing that corporate ladder really rapidly, where, being an actor or a comedian or in film, whatever capacity within the entertainment field, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Where this wasn't. If I studied, if I got my wine, spirits, and education trust, and there's all these certifications that you acquire through the wine industry, and if you study and if you just do that corporate dance, you will get far. And
the taste of success.
It was the
Huge
taste.
success.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It was the taste of success. And I didn't have that before, and it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good to be making money. And so, I started in New York City. I worked for Donald Hess, the Hess Collection. I was his New York State manager, and I met a businessman who was also in wine, fell in love. We moved down to Miami. And I was offered to become the champagne ambassador for Perrier Jouet and Champagne Moom.
Wow.
And then the craziness started.
Uh-oh.
Champagne is nuts. It's just, it's not as civilized as wine, because champagne, the categories and the demographics of champagne are very versatile. And I would have a 3 o'clock at the Ritz-Carlton and a 4 o'clock at Solid Gold.
Interesting.
And it was events, and it was nightclubs, and it was strip clubs, and it was, tastings, and I was in charge of the southeast of the U.S., and I was the conduit of communication between these champagne houses, and, it became my life.
How long were you in Miami?
I was in Miami for 12 years.
12 years. And what did you like about that job, and what did you dislike about that job?
I liked the money.
That's it. That's how I am. People ask me, what do you like about medicine? I like the money.
I liked the money.
Yeah.
And it was an opulent life. In fact, it was debaucherous at times. Absolute debauchery. Yeah. I mean, I had Jeroboams of champagne for door stoppers. Yeah. It was just a very comfortable, opulent lifestyle. And it was multiple houses and cars and waterfront property, and just I was acquiring all this stuff.
Oh, you had houses, multiple houses. Wow.
Yes. Acquiring stuff, though.
Material.
Just material.
Yeah, well.
Labels. Stupid. Like, I could care less about that now.
Yeah.
But then everything was image and, Louis Vuitton and Gucci. And it was just dumb. Just, elaborate, and champagne and caviar and friends, quote unquote, a big network.
Yeah.
And my marriage failed. And it wasn't his fault. It wasn't mine. Maybe it was his fault, but it was
his fault.
But it didn't survive those conditions. He was traveling, I was traveling, and
did you get
we
married
just
in
never
New York
saw
or
each
Miami?
other. We got married in Miami. We
And
met in New York, but got married in Miami.
Was that through the champagne business, the wine?
The champagne capital of the world.
Okay.
Oh,
that's
yes.
where it was from.
And I do this bit where it's the women threw themselves on top of my husband, and I threw myself on top of cocaine. But I mean, the cocaine was everywhere. They offered you cocaine like they were offering you an empanada.
Wow.
I mean, it was just,
so
and
it crazy.
It was nuts. It was just a very, very crazy lifestyle. And I probably should not say that I was like, it's not like I was a cokehead or anything, but
We've all done it.
Yeah. Like just, it was, champagne and Coke and, and corporate. I worked hard and I played hard. And I just didn't really, I was devoid of all things creative. And I kept suppressing this feeling that I was supposed to be doing something else.
Wow.
And I kept pushing it down and pushing it down. And then after my divorce, I still was hanging on, and now I'm working for Laurent Perrier, another prestigious house, and I'm the regional director. I've grown from that ambassador position, and I just kept growing in this industry and doing really well. And I developed hives, skin hives.
Interesting.
And they wouldn't go away. And it wasn't your normal, like, little rash. It was the kind of hives where I would be in a business meeting, and all of a sudden, I would look like Elephant Man. It was just, and people were like, like the Hulk, or like a werewolf at midnight, or or when the moon came out. Something like I just would morph into. It was like very serious allergy to something, and I saw every specialist in the world. No one could figure it out. So my best friend at the time, she was trying to get pregnant, and she couldn't get pregnant, and she had this specialist, Dr. Elizabeth Tratner. She was an acupuncturist, and she specialized in alternative medicine. And it took my best friend months to get this appointment, and she gave up her appointment for me.
Ah,
and she said, I just think, my friend, that the hives are an indicator of a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So please go and see this woman. So I'm meeting with this woman, and she wanted to go all the way back to my childhood. And for 4 hours, we talked.
That's an acupuncturist.
It's an acupuncturist, alternative medicine.
Yeah.
You would know. I didn't know that this was part of the process, but they want to go really inward.
Wow.
And work that way.
Wow.
And so I told her everything at the end of the session. and she put me on the table, did acupuncture. It was amazing. At the end, she gave me a list of things that I had to buy, like Chinese medicine kind of stuff. And she said, and take an acting class. And
Fascinating.
I said, excuse me? Yeah, take an acting class. And this is the guy. He's the best in the Southeast. And his name is Mark Durso. He's the owner of Act True. Go to class.
This is more than an acupuncturist.
And
this is an oracle.
And
right?
I said, doctor, I gave up that life. I'm a corporate. I'm a big shot. I'm making so much.
yeah.
You know, don't you see my car? Like I'm not going to go back to getting headshots. Like,
Exactly.
and, you know, so I did what she said, and the hives went away. And
Just
so
after one class.
after one or maybe two classes, and to this day I don't know, it was probably the cocktail of the Chinese tinctures,
Right.
whatever, you know, and
Right.
the acupuncturist
Right.
and the acting class, and then I got the bug.
You got the bug again
it
for
came
the
back.
second time.
It came back.
And now what do we have a decision
So
to
now,
make now, right?
so now, and I kind of, you know, and so we were sponsors, Laurent Perrier, we were sponsors of the Charleston Wine and Food Fest. And I met with the director of the festival, and he wanted to do something out of the box. I said, well, how about if I just wrote a little play about the Champagne, the legends of Champagne, and how it was incepted? And what if we had characters like Madame Clicquot and Dom Perignon? And
How creative.
so I wrote a play.
Yeah, wow.
And
Very cool.
and it sold out, $300 a piece, full house, and I cast Madame Clicquot and Dom Perignon and the Perrier family, and I directed it and I starred in it, and it was just this little. And Laurent Perrier, they're like, just make your numbers, Sarah. They had no idea really what I was doing, nor did they care. and that's when I realized it was still to this day one of the most fulfilling projects ever that I've ever been a part of.
For sure, because you created it. You
I
crafted
created
out of your
it,
own
and
hands.
it's just
Yeah.
and I missed it, and now I'm, you know, had that taste again of the feeling of performing and the feeling of creating something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And I knew I just had to change my life. So
The champagne business did not sound all that bad. I mean, like
a lot of
money
people
and Coke.
and
sounds
I
great to me.
and I tell you, Ash, a lot of people, when I made the change, they asked if I was okay in the head.
Okay.
Because on the outside looking in,
Yeah.
I had this perfect life. Why would I give up all the stuff?
Right.
And, but wow, did it feel liberating. I liquidated all of my belongings.
Ugh.
And I got kind of lazy in the end. I didn't even liquidate. I just left everything. I just left. There was this, the buyer of where I lived, she walked in, and I left the piano and the champagne and I left everything. I just didn't care. I grabbed my coffee maker and my 2 cats.
Wow.
And I had a 30-foot RV that I rented, and I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I just got in.
Just like chasing your dream.
And I just started driving, and I didn't even know where I was going, really. It just felt really good. And the cats were meowing like crazy. I don't know how to drive the damn thing. I can't believe they gave me keys, the RV company. I didn't have to watch a video. They just gave me like that. And I practically tipped pulling out of the driveway. And the first time I got gas, I took a handle out of the gas. Who knows? Everybody's running slow motion. No, as I'm like trying to get gas for the first time in a 30-foot RV. It was it was comical. And I called my boss from the road.
Oh, they're still friends with you.
We're slowly getting back. Finally, she followed me on Instagram.
Okay.
We're slowly getting back there.
Okay.
She did not appreciate that I called, and
Yeah.
I told her I just sold my house and I'm on my way to the West Coast.
LA was calling for you.
And I said, I can give you 2 weeks. I just want you to know I'm going to be working out of the RV. She said, that's okay. You do you.
Wow.
She was furious. the VP of Laurent Perret. Shout out, Michelle DeFeo. Love you.
Why'd you go to LA instead of New York, back to New York?
I had already failed in New York. No. No, I just always wanted, it would be difficult going from 90-degree heat, humidity to go in the cold to New York City. And New York is a tough life. I lived there for 7 years. I'm glad I did it, but it's a tough life unless you're uber wealthy.
Right.
So I still didn't.
Unlike LA, where you don't have to be uber wealthy here.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah, little did I know, right?
When did you move to LA?
So I moved in May of 2015.
Okay. Oh.
So I drove cross country with the cats, hence my special RVs and cats.
Yeah. Okay. So Sarah has a special on Amazon called RVs and
RVs
Cats.
and Cats. Yes.
I always wondered where that name
came
from.
That was it. That was it.
Story.
It's the RVs and Cats, and I lost one cat on the way. She decided she didn't want to go on this journey with me.
She's like, fuck
she
LA.
escaped out of a screen door I didn't know was open. Like she was just like, get me the hell.
Yeah.
No, I did not sign up for this. But I still have the one. And so we arrived in the RV May of 2015, and I gave up the RV because it's the irony is RV living is more expensive than having an apartment in Beverly Hills.
Fascinating. Okay. See, I wanted to have an RV as well and just travel, the U.S. from audition to audition.
Everyone should do it at least once in their lifetime. It's really cool. It's
but now
fun.
that I know that it's more expensive,
it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Gas and I rented it, right? So they was cha-ching. Maybe if you buy one,
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't afford to keep it, so I gave it up. And
well, this is exciting. You're now in LA to pursue your dream for
now
the second time.
Now I'm in LA, and I really didn't realize I didn't know I would have the gumption to do it until I was in an RV park in Austin, Texas, called the Pecan Park, and I was hanging out with people who didn't have last names, people who really are living off the grid. And
was this on your way to Los Angeles?
On my way to
Okay,
LA.
got it.
I had that epiphany. Well, when was the last time I was really happy? And it was in New York City chasing my dream.
Wow.
So that's why I just kept going to and maybe subconsciously I knew I was going to LA. I'm not sure. But I ended up in LA and I got into acting and comedy right away. Didn't waste any time. I started doing it like maybe the second day I arrived.
Wow. Most people are trying to figure out, what's the 101?
Yeah. Well, I still was trying to figure out. I was lost, but I still knew to have a profile on Actors Access. That was the first thing I did.
Okay. That's that corporate love.
Yeah.
All the strengths that you had from the champagne business, you brought it over full force.
That's exactly right.
It's very interesting because you don't have those experiences in New York. You're an actress and a waiter, but then after you bring all of the other skills that you've developed over 12 years into this, you're like, I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Great point. I had the acumen.
Yeah.
The business acumen.
Right.
And yes, it's difficult. It's show business. And now I might even be a little bit more heavy-handed in the business part of it.
Same. Me too. So you've been here for, I guess, 7 years now.
I just had my 7-year anniversary.
Wow.
And the first 2 years, I just entrenched myself in stand-up comedy. Okay. I did nothing but stand-up.
And that was the first, right? That was the first time you started
doing stand-up. I was doing improv in New York back in the day, completely different. As you know, improv from stand-up improv, you have other people, and you don't fail alone. And now, like when you fail at stand-up, you fail. Oh. Like you're like a bomb. Woo! Oh, it's like traumatic. A kamikaze. It's just like whoa, yeah, it's traumatic.
I was not able to come back to Bottle Shot Comedy after that one time.
That's not true, and you are welcome back. I absolutely want to have you back.
Oh, no. I felt like I bombed, and I was like, I can't go there again because it's traumatic.
You did your job, and the thing, when in the beginning, I wish someone would have told me this. You're not supposed to be good in the beginning. And so I wish I could have enjoyed bombing a little more. I wish I just would have had fun with it because you're not supposed to be good. The first 3 years, just enjoy just being a hot mess in front of everyone.
Okay.
And get to know, you and what you're going to bring to the table as we evolve into this crazy vocation.
It's so interesting though, because you were an actress mostly in New York and
Mm-hmm.
probably like improv comedy, and all of a sudden you're like, no, you know what? I want to do stand up. How did that come about?
I wanted to do stand up, and I got an agent right away, and I started booking not without even trying. People who listen to this are going to get annoyed. I started booking commercials without even trying, and I was booking like I would go out. Sometimes I would have 3 auditions in a day, and I would book all 3.
Wow.
It was really crazy. I had
Amazing.
insane beginner's luck.
Wow.
Now I can't book a commercial to save my life. It was just this beginner. I was the fresh face in town.
I see.
And so I was just doing really well commercially, and that was supporting. And I had a little bit of, savings
Right.
from my previous life, but it was the commercials that I was able to just, do stand up every night and fall on my face and not have any other kind of resources. I was living in Beverly Hills, and had a luxury apartment, and
Wow.
I just kind of living, just having a blast. I was the happiest I've ever been.
Did you feel like you had to bring down your cost of living and be more frugal once you moved here?
Yes, once the savings started to dry up, which is really easy to do because,
totally.
you're investing in yourself, right? So you have to, in order to, I don't know, it's like a really stupid saying. They say you have to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I believe in that, but at the time I was brainwashed into thinking
Right.
like it was an investment. And so I'm doing workshops and classes with like the best coaches in the world, right? Because we have access to that.
Right.
And private coaching and just trying to get up to speed again with where I was in New York with that prior education at
Right.
Tisch.
What were the side hustles that you had during the meantime? Was it just you were making money through commercials?
I was
beginner's
making
luck, and
money
so it was
through
enough?
commercials, and I would book all of those cheesy true crime shows.
Yeah.
And I was always like the killer. Those soccer moms who kill.
Soccer moms who kill. Okay.
Stepford wives who snap.
Oh.
Buried in the backyard. I was, blood relatives, deadly sins.
Fascinating.
I would play the woman who stabbed the men in the head with the scissors and burn them alive in a barrel in her backyard. And I did all that. That was me.
Should your fiance be scared?
He's very frightened every day. He wakes up in the middle of the night. I don't know why. No, but that was also kind of a fun thing that I found that and it's acting, kind of, sort of.
Right. Oh, totally. It's all fun. I love to do it. Are there any moments in this time, like these 7 years, where you're like, I think I just want to go back to the champagne business?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I missed my network. I missed having people that I absolutely knew had my back. I was lonely. It took a long time to make friends in LA. And I call this town, there's a lot of fatty tissue until you find the muscle.
Yeah.
And there are really, really good people in LA, and there are a lot of shysters in LA. And you have to have a really good radar
Right.
for people who are just a wasted time and talk. A lot of talkers, and and it takes a minute to find the doers and to prove yourself to that doer that you're a doer too.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to prove yourself as much as everybody else. So it's a two-way street.
Right.
And it took time, and I was lonely.
That's what you missed about your old job.
Yeah, I did. There was never loneliness
Okay.
in my old job, man. I was the gateway to
all the part-
champagne.
yeah, exactly.
Now it's like, it was, stand up at night, and I'd go back to my cat. And it was just auditions and stand up and bookings. And then I did grow to miss wine, and the savings dried up, and the commercials started to become less and less.
Ooh.
And the bookings less and less, and my representation getting a little, not as ambitious. And when it came to me, I felt like I was no longer the exciting new face. Well, I wasn't, that only lasts for so long. And I never did get that big series regular show that I thought I was going to get.
It's coming.
And thank you. And so now, but now I got a little chugga with the stand up.
Yeah,
I'm getting,
totally.
I've gained some respect because I'm building my bones or making
Yeah.
my, whatever that saying is. And
You got multiple things
and
on your plate.
yeah.
You're a producer of comedy shows.
I produce a comedy show and a podcast, and I'm, you know, trying to make my heat. But I missed wine.
Oh.
And then
like drinking it or
and
the
it,
business?
The business.
Okay.
And drinking it.
Yeah.
I missed the samples.
Yeah.
So I did eventually go back to it in a small way compared to what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do to supplement my income. So I have a small job that I can manage and working for a great portfolio of wines that I really respect and believe in. And I just, you know, I have a small territory. I don't have to travel. It's not like before, you know, what I
Right.
was doing. And
You
so
could
now
kill it in the wine business if you
I
wanted to.
could if I wanted to.
If you wanted to turn up the faucet. but you're
If
just
I
like,
wanted to go back to that life,
Yeah.
I could. But then everything else would be in vain, right?
Right.
And I feel like I do have some good things going, you know, and the stand up is very fulfilling. And producing shows is hard, but it's fulfilling when I'm there. When I see the room is full and the comics are killing, and it's really satisfying.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And the podcast is a lot of fun.
So it looks like we have a success story. You'll never go back to champagne again.
I
You
don't
found the
think
balance.
so. I'll drink it.
Yeah. I'll drink it with you.
Will you?
Yeah.
Let's drink some champagne. It's all about amalgamating all skill sets now, right?
Yeah. Full circle,
That's
coming back to it.
It's it. Yeah.
If you could go back in time to your old self, would you tell yourself to do anything differently, or are you kind of happy the way things turned out?
I don't know. I think if I would have made different choices, you know, I think about that Robert Frost Two Roads Diverge in a Yellow Wood, which, you know, and I think about that a lot. And I don't think I would change anything, because then I would risk not having what I have today.
Right.
So no, that we have, you know, we can't control fate, and we just have to go along with our cards and deal with them smartly.
Yeah.
But you just have to, you have to enjoy the road and the road we take. And that's so stupid.
No. You're a very wise woman, so we want to hear
thank you.
we want to hear your
I
words of
fake it.
wisdom.
Thank you.
Do you have any parting thoughts about anything inspirational or motivational for someone that's thinking, I don't really know if I can do this, you know, leaving this lifestyle behind and doing something that I am really passionate about? What advice do you have for them?
I would say don't quit. Don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. You know, you're going to feel like every day you're going to feel small, and you're going to be so tempted to quit because you think that you don't realize how big you are when you're in it. You don't realize you're doing well while you're doing well, because we have this inevitable thing where we compare ourselves to others. So I would just say, don't quit, just stay the course. And if you get really run down, take a weekend away. Even going to, you know, if you're local in LA, go to Joshua Tree. If you're in New York City, go to Central Park. Do something that to just balance, so you don't feel so beaten down.
Yeah. Don't give up.
And just take a little break. Go hang out with your grandma for a couple days. Go wherever. Go home for a minute. Just to have balance, and that way you're not in this microcosm of, that you're not enough.
Right.
And this is such a teeny tiny speck of the earth.
Yeah.
And what's happening, and just get out of your head.
Ooh. Inspirational words. I was almost tearing up. I don't know if you saw that.
Me too,
It
man.
was affecting me. Well,
if we could just get out of our heads,
Exactly. This has been a really wonderful gift having you come here, and I really, know your story much better now. Is there anything else you want to say, or you feel like you've given the world everything?
I just want to say how much I appreciate you, and I admire you so much, as do others, and I'm very grateful that you're sharing your story, because your story is very inspiring. So just keep doing it, because you're inspiring. You're an inspiration, period.
I mean, that means so much to me, but to have you say that you admire me, because you're such a badass,
And
it's
you're
like,
killing
wow.
it. You're doing so well because you're the fresh face.
Exactly. There we go. 5 years from now.
Everyone wants Ash.
Yeah.
Everyone wants Ash tea.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
5 years from
kill
now, I'm
it.
gonna be like, hey Sarah, what do I do? No one's booking me.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. It was
But
great
just
having
enjoy
you.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is a blast.
Yeah. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for coming.